Sister wore white to my wedding on purpose, so I wore red to hers and caught the bouquet too. I was halfway through the reception hall doors when the groomsmen outside went quiet and my sister's laugh rose over the music like she timed it. And the first thing I saw, before the lights, before the tables, before my own husband turning to look for me, was the flash of white fabric moving through the crowd like a second bride. Not off-white, not cream, not oops if photographed pale. White. Bright, crisp, bridal white, hugging her like it was tailored for attention, with a little train skimming the floor, because of course it did. And my stomach dropped so hard, I felt it in my throat, like I'd swallowed a stone. I didn't even realize I'd stopped walking until my bouquet stem dug into my palm. My fingers tightened around it, and the ribbon scratched my skin. Heat crawled up my neck and into my face. My ears filled with the blood rush, sound you get right before you say something you can't take back. Someone bumped my shoulder and murmured, "Sorry," and I turned my head and smiled automatically like a doll because my body was still on wedding autopilot. My sister, Leah, tilted her head when she saw me, like she was admiring her own work, and she lifted her glass toward me in this tiny toast that could have been friendly if it wasn't her. Then she mouthed, "You look cute," and I could read it from across the room. Goo. Not beautiful, not radiant. Goo. Like I dressed up for a school dance, and she was the one who belonged in white. It was the one part of the day I hadn't rehearsed in my mind. I'd rehearsed the vows. I'd rehearsed my dad not making a weird joke. I'd rehearsed my mom crying at the right moments. I'd even rehearsed Leah trying to redirect attention, because Leah doesn't know how to exist in a room without a spotlight. But I hadn't rehearsed her actually wearing white. Like actually. Fast forward exactly 11 months and 2 weeks later, and I'm standing at the back of a different hall with the same family. The same 4 smiles. The same sticky sweet smell of florals and hairspray. Except this time I'm the guest, and Leah is the bride, and my dress is deep red, satin, structured, the kind of red that looks calm and expensive instead of look at me. I can feel my mother's eyes drilling into my back like I'm holding a lit match. Leah's bridesmaids keep glancing at me and then away like I'm a grenade. My aunt whispers something in her hand and pretends she's just covering a cough. And when Leah turns and sees me, she freezes so hard I can see the exact moment her face wants to split in a rage, but she forces it into a smile. She moves toward me fast, bouquet clenched like a weapon. "Mara," she hisses through her teeth, like we're sharing a secret. "You're wearing red?" I keep my voice low and polite, because I learned long ago that the only way to win with Leah is to sound reasonable while she sounds unhinged. "Yes," I say. "It's a dress." Her eyes flick down my body and back up with that quick, hungry inventory she does. "You're trying to upstage me." I almost laugh, but it comes out as a slow breath. "Leah," I say, "you're in a literal wedding gown." She leans closer, perfume heavy and sharp. "Guests don't wear red to weddings," she snaps. "Guests also don't wear white," I say, still quiet, still smiling. That lands. I watch it land. Her pupils tighten. Her jaw works like she's chewing glass. Over her shoulder, my mom takes a step forward like she's about to physically separate us. Leah's grip tightens on her bouquet, and the stems squeak. Then the coordinator calls her name, and Leah has to turn back toward the aisle with her smile glued on, because the one thing Leah loves more than attention is looking perfect while she gets it. She pivots, but right before she walks away, she whispers, "This isn't over," like we're in some soap opera. And I just stand there in my red dress, heart pounding, hands steady, and think, good, let not be over. Here's the broader setup, because I know how this sounds from the outside, like some cartoonish petty sister war. I swear it wasn't like that at the beginning. It just became that because Leah never learned how to love anyone without competing with them. Leah is 3 years older than me. We grew up in the same house, ate the same dinners, went to the same schools, but somehow she became the sun and I became the moon, only there to reflect her. She's charismatic in a room, the kind of person who can make a barista feel like they're best friends. She's also the kind of person who can slice you open with a sentence while smiling at you like she's doing you a favor. My parents, especially my mom, treated Leah's moods like weather. If Leah was happy, it was a good day. If Leah was upset, everyone rearranged themselves to fix it. I learned early that being easy made me lovable. Leah learned early that being loud made her powerful. When I met my husband, Ben, Leah was weird about it. Not outwardly jealous at first, just interested in a way that felt sticky. She wanted details. She wanted to see pictures. She wanted to meet him quickly. When she did, she turned on the charm so hard I could practically hear the switch flip. She laughed too loud at his jokes. She touched his arm when she talked. She asked him questions about his job like she was interviewing him for herself. Ben noticed. He didn't say it right away because Ben is careful and kind, and he didn't want to make me feel paranoid. But after one dinner, when Leah had leaned across the table and said, "So, Ben, what's your type?" With that bright-eyed innocence, Ben got in the car and said, "Your sister doesn't respect boundaries." And it wasn't accusatory, just honest. When Ben proposed, Leah screamed like it was her news, then immediately asked what my ring looked like. When I showed her, she made a face, tiny fast, and said, "Oh, vintage. Goo. Cute again. Always cute." Like I was playing dress-up in adulthood. Planning the wedding was a lot. Not because weddings are inherently stressful, they are, but because Leah treated every decision like it was a referendum on her status in the family. If my mom liked my venue, Leah had to dislike it. If I chose a simple floral arrangement, Leah would send me Pinterest boards of elevated options. If I said I wanted a small bridal party, Leah said, "Don't you want it to look full?" Like my wedding was a stage set for photographs she planned to star in. The dress thing started as jokes. Leah would send me pictures of white dresses and say, "Should I wear this?" LOL. I'd respond with no red heart like a normal person and think that was it. She asked what color the bridesmaids were wearing, sage green, and she said, "Okay, I won't match," in this tone like she was doing me a big kindness. The week of my wedding, Leah came over while I was doing last-minute place cards at my kitchen table. She sat on the counter and swung her legs like she lived there. "I found a dress," she announced. "That's great," I said, trying to sound genuinely happy. "It's kind of light," she said, watching my face. "Light is fine," I said, "just not white." She rolled her eyes. "No one cares about that anymore." "I care," I said, and I looked at her then, really looked. "Please don't do that to me." She smiled like I'd said something adorable. "Mara," she said, "relax. I would never." And then she did. The first time I saw her dress on my wedding day was at the reception hall doors, exactly as I described. White, bridal, with lace at the bodice like it had been designed to photograph as delicate. When I confronted her later, after the speeches, after the cake cutting, when I finally found a moment where my mom wasn't hovering, Leah shrugged like she'd been caught wearing the wrong shoes. "It's ivory," she said. "It's white," I hissed, voice shaking. She tilted her head. "It only looks white under these lights," she said. "And anyway, you're the bride. No one is confused." I looked around, and the worst part was some people actually were confused. Not like they thought she was the bride, but like they noticed her, did a double take, whispered. I saw my photographer glance at her and then glance back at me with this tight expression that said, "Do you want me to deal with this?" And I could feel humiliation rising in my chest like bile, because I didn't want to deal with anything on my wedding day. I wanted to exist in it without fighting my sister for oxygen. My mom's reaction was what broke something in me. When I told her, quietly, Leah wore white, my mom sighed like I complained about the music being too loud. "She probably didn't mean it," she said. "Mom," I whispered. I asked her not to. My mom glanced over at Leah, laughing with Ben's cousin like she was the main character. "Don't make a scene," she said. "It's your day. Focus on your husband." So I did. I swallowed it. I smiled in photos while Leah stood too close and angled her body toward the camera like she practiced. I laughed through the reception while my stomach twisted. I went home that night with Ben and cried in the bathroom with my makeup half off because it wasn't just a dress. It was the fact that Leah could hurt me in front of everyone, and still somehow I was the one expected to be gracious. After our honeymoon, Ben asked me gently, "Do you want me to say something to her?" And I said no. Not because I didn't want him to. Because I knew Leah would twist it into Ben attacking her, my mom would defend Leah, and I would become the villain for not moving on. So I moved on outwardly. I didn't bring it up. I didn't post about it. I didn't confront Leah again because I knew she'd enjoy the argument more than she'd feel remorse. But I didn't forget. Then Leah got engaged. It happened fast. Leah meets a guy. Leah makes him her whole personality. Leah gets a ring. Her fiancé, Aaron, is fine. A little timid around her, which honestly should have been a red flag, but he seems kind. I try to be supportive. I brought a gift to the engagement dinner. I hugged Leah and said congratulations and meant it because despite everything, part of me still wanted us to be normal sisters. Leah asked me to be a bridesmaid. I said no, not dramatically, not in a screw you speech. I just said, I'd rather be a guest. Leah blinked like she didn't understand the concept of me having preferences. Why? Because I want to enjoy your day without pressure, I said carefully. She narrowed her eyes. Are you still mad about the dress? I held her gaze. I'm not mad, I said. I just don't trust you not to make me responsible for your feelings. She laughed like that was ridiculous. You're so dramatic. And that was that. The dress code for Leah's wedding was garden formal, with a note on the invitation. Please avoid wearing white, cream, or ivory. The irony sat on my tongue like something bitter. Ben read it and raised his eyebrows at me, and I just stared at the paper and felt my chest tighten. 2 weeks before Leah's wedding, my mom called me. Leah says you're being difficult, she began, which is how my mom starts conversations when she's already chosen a side. About what? I asked, already tired. She says you haven't shown her your dress, my mom said, like I was required to submit an outfit for approval. I'm a guest, I said. I don't need approval. My mom lowered her voice like she was sharing a secret. Just don't wear anything flashy, she warned. I paused. Mom, I said, why are you saying that to me? Because Leah is stressed, my mom replied, as if that explained everything. I hung up and stood in my kitchen, phone still warm in my hand, and felt something in me settle into a decision that was half spite and half self-respect. I chose red. Not neon, not glitter, not some dramatic backlist number designed to steal a spotlight. A classic dress that fit me perfectly, the kind of dress you wear when you want to feel strong. When the box arrived, I opened it slowly, almost reverently, and when I held the fabric up to the light, it looked like a deep, steady flame. Ben watched me from the doorway. Are you sure? He asked, gentle. Yes, I said. And then, because honesty matters, no. But I'm done shrinking. The morning of Leah's wedding, I got ready calmly. I did my makeup slower than usual, like I was practicing being unbothered. I put on the dress and looked at myself in the mirror, and I didn't see a villain. I saw a woman who was tired of being the family's easy target. When we arrived and Leah saw me, she reacted exactly how I knew she would. Rage, accusation, drama, because it wasn't really about the dress. It was about control. She wanted me in beige, blending into the wallpaper, smiling politely while she did whatever she wanted. But here's what Leah hadn't counted on. I wasn't alone anymore. Ben stood beside me, hand at my back, quiet but solid. And Aaron, her fiancé, was nearby, watching with this confused discomfort like he just realized Leah could be cruel to people she supposedly loves. After Leah hissed, "This isn't over," she had to go walk down the aisle. The ceremony happened. Leah looked beautiful. She and Aaron said vows. People cried. My mom dabbed her eyes dramatically. I sat in my chair and listened and even found myself tearing up at one point, because weddings do that, even when you're carrying old resentment in your ribs. Then came the reception. Leah had planned every second like a production. Speeches timed. First dance choreographed. Dessert table staged. And through it all, her eyes kept flicking to me, like my red dress was a stain on her perfect day. About an hour in, Leah's maid of honor, Allison, yes, the same sister-in-law from earlier, because Leah keeps family close to control the narrative, announced the bouquet toss. People gathered. Music shifted to something upbeat. Leah stepped onto the little platform, bouquet in hand, grin too wide. I was standing toward the back of the crowd, because I'm not 16 and I wasn't planning to fight for flowers. Leah turned slightly, scanning the group like she was choosing her target, and I swear on my life her eyes landed on me for just half a second longer than everyone else, like she had an idea. She tossed the bouquet hard, too hard, over her shoulder, and it didn't arc sweetly into a group of eager hands. It flew like a missile, overshot the cluster, and came straight toward me. Time slowed in that stupid, surreal way it does when something is about to hit your face. I lifted my hands on instinct, not gracefully, not dramatically, and the bouquet thumped into my palms, heavy and fragrant, petals brushing my wrists. The crowd went silent for half a beat, then erupted in that chaotic scream laugh people do when something unexpected happens. And there I was standing in red, holding Leah's bouquet, heart pounding, cheeks hot, while Leah turned around and saw exactly who had it. Her face changed, like her skin couldn't decide whether to flush or go pale. Her smile froze mid-expression. Someone yelled, "OHHH," like we were at a sports game. My aunt, of course, started laughing too loud. Leah's laugh didn't come. Her eyes narrowed, sharp, furious, humiliated in a way she'd never had to be because she usually controls the room. I could have done a lot of things in that moment. I could have thrown it back at her. I could have made a scene. I could have smirked and won. Instead, I just held it, calm, still, letting the moment exist without me scrambling to fix it for her. Leah walked toward me fast, heels clicking. "Give it to someone else," she hissed, reaching for it like she could undo what happened. I took one small step back, not dramatic, just enough that she had to stop reaching. "It hit me," I said, voice even. I caught it. Her jaw clenched. "You're doing this on purpose." "I didn't ask your bouquet to attack me," I said, and I couldn't help it. My voice had that dry edge of humor that comes when you're past polite. People nearby laughed again, nervous. Leah's eyes flashed. For a second, I thought she might actually grab me. Not hit, just grab, yank, make it physical so she could feel in control again. But then Aaron appeared at her shoulder, hand lightly touching her arm. "Babe," he murmured low, "just let it go." Leah whipped her head toward him like she couldn't believe he'd spoken. "Don't," she snapped under her breath. Aaron's face tightened. He looked at me, apologetic, helpless, then back at Leah. "It's fine," he said. "It's a bouquet." Leah's nostrils flared. She looked around and realized people were watching. She forced a laugh that sounded like a cough. "Okay," she chirped too bright. "Lucky Mara." Then she turned away, smile plastered on, and clapped her hands like she'd planned it. But I saw the crack. I saw it because I know her. Later that night, after the speeches and the dancing and the forced family photos, yes, I was in them, still in red, still upright, Leah cornered me near the bathrooms. The hallway was dim, music muffled, the air cooler. "You think you got me," she whispered. I looked at her, really looked. Mascara perfect, lipstick flawless, eyes burning with a rage she couldn't publicly release. "Leah," I said, tired now more than anything, "you got me in my wedding. You know you did. And I let it happen because I didn't want to ruin my day." She blinked, thrown off by the calm honesty. "I wore red because I wanted to feel like myself." I continued. "Not because I wanted to ruin you. You're the one who keeps trying to turn everything into a competition." Leah scoffed. "You're jealous." I actually laughed softly at that. "Of what?" I asked. "Of being allowed to be cruel and still be protected?" Her face flickered, something like fear, like she'd heard too much truth at once. I stepped closer, not aggressive, just present. "You wore white to my wedding on purpose," I said quietly. "And I'm done pretending you didn't." Leah's lips pressed together. For a second, she didn't have a line. "No joke. No twist. No, you're too sensitive." Then she said, flat, "You didn't look like a bride anyway." It landed because it was meant to, but it didn't shatter me the way it would have a year ago. It just confirmed everything. I nodded once. "Okay," I said. "Have a nice night, Leah." And I walked away. On the drive home, Ben kept one hand on the wheel and one hand resting on my knee. The night air through the cracked window smelled like grass and leftover fireworks from someone else's celebration. My phone buzzed a few times with messages. My mom, my aunt, a cousin, little comments like "bold choice" and "LOL the bouquet," and "your sister was stressed, don't take it personally." The usual. the smoothing, the minimizing. Ben glanced at me. "How do you feel?" he asked. I stared out at the dark road and thought about the white dress at my wedding, about the way my stomach had dropped, about my mom telling me not to make a scene, about Leah's mouth shaping cute like a weapon. I thought about Leah's face when the bouquet landed in my hands, and Aaron telling her to let it go, and the tiny crack that formed in her control. "I feel lighter," I admitted. Not because of the red dress, not because of the bouquet. I swallowed, because for once, I didn't contort myself to protect her. Ben squeezed my knee gently. "Good," he said. "And here's the thing I didn't expect. Catching the bouquet wasn't the victory. Wearing red wasn't even the victory. The victory was realizing I don't have to keep playing the part Leah wrote for me in her head. I don't have to be small so she can be big. I don't have to smile through disrespect because my mom thinks peace is more important than truth. Leah will probably tell this story forever in her own version. In her version, I wore red to steal attention. In her version, I lunged for the bouquet. In her version, I'm jealous and petty and dramatic. In my version, which is the version I actually live inside, I wore a dress that made me feel strong. I stood in a room where my sister wanted to shrink me, and I didn't let her. And when life handed me a bouquet, like a ridiculous little symbol of fate, I held it calmly and let her sit in the discomfort of not controlling everything for once. I didn't ruin her wedding. I didn't scream. I didn't throw wine. I didn't do anything viral. I just stopped bending. And honestly, that's the most satisfying revenge I've ever had.